and welcome to another teacher talk session tonight. Tonight we are going to have our 116th session with a different educator from different parts of the world. And tonight our guest is from the USA, and he is Patrick Randolph. He's an English language lecturer, author, and a speaker. If you have watched our previous, the sessions before, and he joined our sessions, I think 21st session, he was with us and we talked different topics. And tonight we are going to talk also different topics with him. It's really interesting topics. We are going to talk about mostly mindfulness, and I'm sure that you are really wondering what he's going to say about it. And so I don't want to waste time, and I want to invite him to the session and start our live session with Patrick, because it's really the great educator here. Let me invite him. I'm looking forward to listening to him. I'm sure you are also waiting for this moment. Yes, when he comes we are going to start our session. There he is. I can't see him. There he is. Okay. Hello, Patrick.
Hello. How are you?
It's great to see you again in Teacher Talk session. It's wonderful to see you, and every time to see you alive in front of us, and listening to you, it gives us really positive energy, and it's really great thing to listen and to watch and to get some ideas from you. It's always great. Thank you for accepting my invitation one more time to Teacher Talks.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Patrick, tonight I also mentioned that we are going to talk about lots of topics, and I just I just wanted to start quickly our live sessions because we have lots of the things to talk. If you are ready, then we can start.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, Patrick, I know about you, but maybe the listeners would like to know about you. So can you tell us about yourself, please, and a bit about your experiences too?
Okay. Yeah. I'll keep it short so we can jump into the mindfulness. But I started teaching in 1994, and I think at last count I've taught 7,340 students. So
wow.
So I actually started studying philosophy in graduate school, and sort of the turning point, so to speak, was teaching in Japan, and I realized that I wanted to change. I finished my degree in philosophy, but I switched over to applied linguistics because I found my true love of teaching English. So.
And you are doing that, still
Right.
doing that. Okay, wonderful. And so let me ask you the question again, what was your, the turning point or points, in your own education?
In terms of wanting to shift towards English, or?
Yeah, you can, of course.
Yeah. So, like I had mentioned, I was all set to teach philosophy. I wanted to become a philosophy lecturer. And then I got this opportunity in Japan called the JET program. And it's basically a Japanese American, well, actually now all countries are open to it. So Malaysia, Turkey, if you're from Turkey, you can go teach over there. And so basically it's an exchange teaching program. When I was over there, you could only stay 3 years, but I ended up staying 5.
5, wow.
And so, but it's really wonderful. You teach in the public schools, and you can coach whatever sports. I did volleyball, and I think it was probably into my first year that turning point of realizing that this is what I wanted to be doing came when I was working with the middle school kids in Japan. So then I went back to the States, and I entered a applied linguistics program for English. So.
I see. That was a nice point. Okay, thank you very much, Patrick, for sharing with us. Okay, so I know that you have been, you have a very huge experience about, the teaching English, and I'm sure that you have, the tried lots of strategies, lots of methods, techniques in your classes. So probably you have a kind of a philosophy of teaching. So what is it? What is your philosophy of teaching?
Okay. Maybe I could break it down into three components.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So one, I think whatever I'm doing, so whatever skill it is, whether it's speaking, listening, reading, writing, vocabulary, error correction, I try to incorporate some kind of brain research into the classroom because, for example, there's something called embodied semantics, which basically it's a fancy term for how we take in information and how we use our body with that helps reinforce the learning of the words. So I think if teachers know more about the brain and how it can be used effectively, it's a huge, huge benefit. So number one is incorporating the brain. And then the second is just sort of guiding the students, being there for them, knowing that I'm there, supporting them. And then the last component, 3, is kind of sending them off on their own so that they can become self-teachers. So the brain component, helping them along, and then letting them become independent so that they can actually do it on their own. And I kind of have a neat example of that. Years ago, I had a TESOL convention that I had to go to. And
I remember.
Yeah, and I didn't have a sub, but I had 3 students. It was a small class. It was only 3. I actually had never taught such a small class before. And I asked the director of the program, I said, if I give the students a daily lesson plan and they teach themselves, can I let that be their class? And she said, sure. And I think it was the first or second day, the director of the program came by the classroom and she saw one student lecturing, and these were sort of basic intermediate students, but she saw one student standing up and teaching the other 2. And she said, my goodness, she said that was amazing to see the responsibility they took and that they were kind of teaching each other. So that was kind of a highlight.
It's wonderful. Great. Thanks for the moment also. Thank you very much for sharing with us. I just want to remind something, like if you have any questions to Patrick, and please write them into the question part. If you see that is at the bottom of the session screen, you can see that there is a question part. So you can write your questions and I can divert your questions to Patrick. And if you write them into the chat box, maybe we can miss it while he's talking. So that's why it's important to write your questions into the question part. Thank you. Let's move to the next question. And there's a term that, the people, I think, use it, and, the people need this one, mindfulness. It's a really common word that we use it. So what is mindfulness? Can you define it for us? And why is it important for most of the people? And people say that it's a really important term. So what is it?
Okay. Let me just give you a real, like a super quick history on it.
Sure.
So, I mean, there are mindfulness components all around the world, but here in the US, it kind of started back in the 80s. And it was in Boston, Massachusetts. And there was a man, John Kabat-Zinn, who's still alive. And he was working with his patients. So he was a doctor in Boston. And a lot of his patients were dealing with sort of loss and suffering. So either their body ached or they had lost a loved one, and they were kind of going through this sort of therapy. And the prescriptions, the drugs that he was prescribing really weren't working. And he was thinking, what if I create a 8-week mindfulness session and I work my patients through meditation and focus and being mindful. And it was amazing because he started to see that the mindfulness worked so much better than any drug. And they didn't need to put a chemical in their system. And the neat thing about the mindfulness was, like the drug, it would help you maybe today, but tomorrow you'd have to take it again. Whereas with the mindfulness, it's a nice gradual development, and it's self-healing. And you don't need anything. You just need your body and your brain. So I'll define it for you. His definition is basically, so it's paying attention using 3 components. So You're paying
I see.
attention on purpose is one. Two, in the present moment. So you're focused right about now, not about yesterday or tomorrow, but right now. And then three, which is probably the most difficult, is doing all of this non-judgmentally. So again, you're focused on purpose. There's an intention right now.
I see.
You're in the moment, and it's non-judgmental. So it could be anything. It could be like, if I'm sitting here right now, I could, instead of holding this pen and just, going about, I'm holding it. I'm aware that my fingers are wrapped around it. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not judging it, but I'm just here and I'm now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a real broad overview, but the definition of what it is. And so, good.
I see. Good. Excellent. And would you like to tell about the importance of it, or?
Yeah. I mean, right now, like, for example, we're watching every day over here in the States about what's happened to Turkey, with the earthquakes and everything. And so that's added stress in your country, right? And so,
exactly.
Yeah. And so something like this, where you can just kind of focus on the moment and take it in step by step. It's so important, because what the problem with the mind is, it's probably one of the most beautiful things we have, but if it goes crazy and gets out of control, you start stressing and you start losing control, and pretty soon we call it the monkey mind, and so the monkey mind is this where there is no control, and you spin out of control. So what that mindfulness does is it gets you back focused and centered, and one of the big elements that we use is just simply the breath. So you can control just about anything with just, you don't even have to close your eyes. You just inhale, just focus for even one breath, take it in and release. And there's a sense of grounding there, just that one breath. 3 is probably better, but even if you just take a second and step back, there's a real famous quote throughout the ages. The first time I read this was a Stoic, which is like 150 BC or AD, 150 AD. But it's actually a common statement now in neuroscience and mindfulness, which is the following: it's stress is not in the situation, but it's in our relationship to the situation.
I see.
Yeah. So it's not whatever that is. It's that stress is not out there. It's in here. So if you can,
it's inside.
Yeah. If you can relax that in here, it'll be okay.
I see. It's a nice quote. Yeah. Really. Thank you very much. Thank you, Patrick. So let's move to another the question about mindfulness. You just mentioned it about about the patients that they're treating him about their illnesses. So what are the benefits of mindfulness for our brain and our thinking?
Great question. Yeah. I mean, for teachers out there, for teachers and students, it's the perfect tool, because they found, if this is, so here's our brain, okay?
Sure, yeah.
And we'll say here's the brain stem, and then this is the frontal lobe right here. So this is the front part of the brain. And what they've found, those that practice mindfulness actually strengthen this part of the brain. And they've provided more connections between the frontal part and other parts of the brain. And what that essentially does is it, one, improves our memory. So either short-term memory, which later, they're calling it working memory now, because that working memory becomes long-term memory. It improves concentration, attention, focus. And what's really interesting, within that brain, in here, right about here, there's something called the amygdala, and it's amygdala, and it's our flight or fight reaction center. It's that emotional center, and that's the center that gets all wacky, we got to either run. But what they found with the mindfulness is that flight or flight center gets relaxed, and the prefrontal lobe gets strengthened and enhanced. And what's really interesting, mindfulness also increases the gray matter in the brain, and that gray matter is the part that helps neurons communicate, take in information, and remember it. So they've been doing a lot of studies, really all over the world now. I mean, your universities in Istanbul and Izmir and Ankara, they're doing mindfulness studies. Japan is doing mindfulness studies. Germany, Sweden, the US, every day there's articles being written on the benefits of mindfulness. It's just amazing. I mean, it's something that, again, it's amazing because the only thing you need is your body, your brain, and your breath. You don't need to buy anything. You don't even need a yoga mat, you know.
You don't need, you know, not a lot of things. Actually, you need nothing. Only the body and the brain and the breath, as you mentioned here. I see. Okay. So thank you very much, Patrick. So, but again, another question with the mindfulness, like, what is the most important thing about it?
I think,
I mean, like, what do you think?
Right, the most important, I'll say two things.
Sure.
There are kind of two schools of mindfulness. So one thing it does is it, for teachers and students, is it, I mean, I would recommend doing some of the activities that we're going to do today before tests or before something really important, because it relaxes you and it gets you focused. But one of probably the two things that mindfulness does is, one, it decreases stress, it decreases anxiety, so that opens up your creativity and opens up your joy. And the other thing it does is it allows you to embrace life and love life, because you find yourself not stressing, and you find yourself taking a tiny little moment that you might, I was just speaking with a friend from Japan this morning, actually, and she said, thank you for telling me about mindfulness, because she said, I was going to the university every day and there's so much beauty, but I was so stressed and focused on what I was going to be doing later, I forgot how beautiful it was. And I gave her an assignment, and it was, I want you to take 3 pictures of special moments on your way to school and then send them to me and tell me why those were special. And she said, these were 3 pictures I took that my first year as a university student, I loved these 3 areas, but then I just forgot about them because I saw them every day and I took them for granted. But now, thanks to your little assignment of me giving you, me taking these pictures and kind of focusing again, I love this tree, I love this area where there were birds in this building. So again, I think what mindfulness really does is it decreases the stress that we have in life now, but that's a positive in itself. But the big thing for me is it just helps you love life.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you very much for the information. You know, you mentioned all the positive side of the mindfulness, but the problem, I'm sure that maybe, let me ask you this question in this way. What are some difficulties like people, you know, they might encounter with mindfulness? We talk about the positive sides, but are there any negative sides of mindfulness?
In terms of a negative side, they've looked very hard. And there's only one argument that people say it's negative, and to me it's not really a strong argument, but people will say, oh, mindfulness isn't good because you're only focused on yourself and improving yourself, and you're not changing the world. Well, honestly, I don't know of any revolution that has changed the world. They've come and gone.
Good point.
I mean, I looked at this country. We've had so many demonstrations here against this and that. 6 months later, it goes back to the same. Okay, but if you can change yourself, then you can actually change a lot, because you change yourself, you change your perspective, you help somebody else. I mean, one of my philosophies of life is I help myself and then I can help a lot of other people. But if I can't help myself and I'm completely stressed, like, I can't help people. And I think my reason for living, my purpose, I think, is to help people, whoever that is, my family member, my wife, my daughter, my cat, my dog, my mom, my dad, but my friends. but if I'm stressed and I'm not focused, I can't help anybody. And so that argument that mindfulness only helps the self, that's, to me, that's perfect if it just helps the self, because that self is going to have a ripple effect. It's like throwing a stone in the water, the ripples go out, and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick. So let me ask another question about it. Probably you would like to share some maybe activities about mindfulness. Like, can you share us some mindfulness activities that we can maybe apply in our, the classes or maybe ourselves? So what do you say?
Yeah. Okay. Can I give you 4?
Sure, of course.
We'll start simple, and then but these are ones. We'll start with the morning. Okay, so I think this really sets the pace of the day. And again, this is so simple, but I'll ask my students, when is the last time that you thanked your body? And they look at me like, what are you talking about? But I mean, when you think about the body, the heart is there every day, the brain is there every day. It gets you up in the morning, it takes you to the kitchen so you can make your tea and start your day. So one simple practice is just the moment that you wake up, you pull the covers back and you look down at your body and say, "Chok teshi kure." Or
Nice.
you say,
Thank you to our body.
Yeah, just thank you. And then, you can get a little more detailed, and you can maybe thank your heart, or you can thank your brain, or you can thank, the blood in the bones. But basically, just look down and just take a moment and then say thank you. And it's amazing how that little moment of gratitude to the body really helps set the tone of the day. I mean, if something bad happens, you're not going to get overly upset about it. You'll take it in stride. While you're still in bed, the second one, because one thing is a lot of people will say, well, I don't have time for mindfulness. I can't spend 40 minutes meditating, or I can't spend 50 minutes meditating. But one of the whole philosophies of mindfulness is you don't need 40 minutes. You just 1 minute goes a long way. And I think what people realize is if they do it for 1 minute, they're going to want to do it for 2, and then probably 3, and just naturally they're going to do more and more. But they say what the science, the brain science is saying now is you don't need a long session. If you do little parts, like you're mindful for 1 minute here, and then a few minutes later you're getting on a bus, or you're just walking, and you're very mindful of how you're there was a great Buddhist philosopher from Vietnam, maybe you've heard of him, Nan Thich.
Yeah.
And he talks about our feet kissing the earth. Instead of just walking on the ground, the feet kiss the earth, but just being aware of that. So the one is, just thanking your body. 2, while you're still in bed, just breathe 3 times, so that you can just close your eyes before you get out of bed in the morning. Inhale once and release. Inhale again, release. Inhale again, release. And it sets the day. And then again, 2, if you're ever in a stressed moment, just 3 little breaths focused, I think is a big help. There's another breathing technique that's great. I'm sure a lot of your followers and listeners probably even know about it. It's called the 4, 7, 8 technique. And we'll do it together just once. What you do is you inhale for 4, kind of slowly. So you inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hold it for 7 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you slowly release for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it's inhale for 4, hold it for 7, and then release for 8. And if you do that just 3 times, I love doing it before I sit down to write, or before I have to go someplace. And they've found that you asked what are the benefits of mindfulness. I forgot to tell you, one of the huge ones is it strengthens our immune
Mm-hmm.
system. So,
Mm-hmm.
and just doing that 4-7-8, it'll get you centered, relaxed, and focused too. So, yeah,
I see.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Wonderful.
then there's one more if you want to try. We can do this together. It's a 5-part.
Sure.
So,
Of course.
if everyone can close their eyes and just
I
kind of focus for a moment, and then open the eyes and look around and find 5 things that you can focus on just visually. So by using the eyes, I see the chair, the picture, the
yeah.
plant, the sofa, and the kitty cat. Okay, and then close your eyes, and then think of 4 people who have had a strong or a positive influence on you. So you can kind of imagine those 4 people in your head, and then open your eyes, and then see if you can hear 3 things around you. So I hear water, the light, the fan, and
Mm-hmm.
something inside. Okay, and then 2, you can close your eyes again, and if you can think of two memories that were very positive, recent memories that were positive. And then the last one, the emotion that you're left with from those memories, just kind of hold it in your heart for a second. And there you have it. Okay. So there's the 5 things that you see, and then the 4 people, and then the 3 sounds, 2 memories, and the 1 emotion. So it's kind of a neat where you're going out looking, and then you're kind of inside, and then you're looking,
Mm-hmm.
you're listening out, and then you're back inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there you go. Very simple.
There you go.
Yeah.
So now I'm relaxed.
Good.
Wonderful. Thanks. Wonderful. Great experience. Thank you. Elif says that great experience.
Good.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's move to another question. Would you like to add anything else, or can I move to another one? Thanks for the activity that you share with us.
Yeah. You can. I was going to tell you too that we've got, let's see, about 5 or 6 real short meditation sessions on our YouTube channel too. They were made for teachers and students. But
Of course.
yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
can. 3 of them are just 60 seconds, so they're just 1 minute. And then I think we have 3 or 4 that are a little longer, but it gives teachers some ideas that they can use in the classroom too. So, and it's just Patrick T. Randolph. That's the name of the
Patrick T.
channel.
Randolph. For the channel. I see. So you can go there on YouTube and you can check the videos about the Patrick T. Randolph. There are lots of useful, the videos as far as I know that you have taken it, and especially about also you just mentioned it about also mindfulness videos over there. I think also there are various. Actually, the old videos that you had there are really great. Whenever I find a time, I go and I check it. They're really useful, and I suggest to all the people who listen, go and check the YouTube channel of Patrick Randolph to see his amazing videos, very useful videos. Don't miss
And
it.
you can see the cat again. He's my co-partner. So.
Yeah, okay. The cat is always there. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Patrick. So my next question is actually you tell us some activities, but what is one mindfulness practice like everyone can do?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many, but one simple thing is, again, just wherever you're at that moment, one, just focus on your breath as it comes in. I mean, the neat thing about the breath is it's always there for us. It's our best friend. It's constantly there, but because it's there, we take it for granted and we sort of forget about it. But that's why when a lot of people will say again, oh, I just don't have time for it. Well, my response, and I think most mindfulness teachers' response too, is if you're breathing, you have time. So you can just that 1 second of whatever you're doing, like we gave the example before, just holding the pen or holding your coffee cup, like in the morning. Morning is a great time for mindfulness too, because you can just hold your cup, feel your fingers wrapped around the cup, you know, feel the warmth, and
Mm-hmm.
again, instead of just drinking the tea or coffee, when you're taking it in, kind of close your eyes and feel it go down.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's another benefit of mindfulness, that it really, every tiny little thing that we do, suddenly it takes on a whole new life and meaning, and it gives meaning to just about everything we do. So things that everybody can do: just breathe, or wherever you're at that moment. Even if you're picking up your cell phone, instead of just, you know, picking it up and making a call,
Uh-huh.
the moment you're picking it up, just be aware of your hand going down, picking it up, fingers pressing it, and just those tiny little actions that we take during the day, or listening to people. There's a little video that we made last month on, if you look at somebody's ear, it's kind of neat because there's actually a heart in the ear. There's the shape of a
Yeah.
heart. You
Yeah,
see the
the
video,
shape of it.
we go
Yeah.
into detail. Yeah, and so just listening to somebody, 100%. That's another activity in mindfulness, is just pure listening, as opposed to sort of, you know, looking at them and thinking about other things, and then what did you say? I did what? But as opposed to like 100% listening. That's just
I
a
see.
simple
Mm-hmm.
activity too, that anyone can
So
do.
anyone can do that. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick. So I just want to ask you another question about mindfulness. Like we talk about it, mindfulness is something related with our health, something
Mm-hmm.
positive. It gives positive, the positive things to our health. And can mindfulness improve the immune system? Let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was actually a really fascinating study done maybe 4 years ago, and so it was a research project. So they brought in some respondents, and they had them meditate a little in the morning, a little in the afternoon, and a little in the evening. So that was on Monday, right? And then on Friday, so they tested their system. They did a biological test on the system on Monday, and then at the end of the week on Friday, and they found, so they had a group that was at the research center that didn't meditate, and then the group that meditated.
Mm-hmm.
And they found that the group that didn't meditate, of course, do you know the term cortisol? Cortisol.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's the stress hormone that gets inside of us, and
Cortisol, sure.
it's the stress hormone that can make you old quicker, and it gives you a lot of stress, and it breaks down the body. But what they found was, so that was a little high in the non-meditators, but the meditators, the cortisol level was much lower.
No.
But what was
Mm-hmm.
amazing was, there's this hormone called immunoglobulin A. It's a mouthful. So immunoglobulin A.
Is it,
And basically, it's an immune hormone that counters any, like if you get a virus or a
wow.
cold or a flu,
Mm-hmm.
and that immunoglobulin A went way up in the meditators, in some cases up to 90%. And so
Wow. Mm-hmm.
basically, it was like getting a vaccine, but you're just meditating. So what's happening is, I can maybe just draw real quick, and I can show it up to the screen. So if you can see, can you see that
Sure.
little X there, the chromosome?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
So
course.
on the top right here, those they're called telomeres, and it's inside our body. And once those telomeres start getting smaller and smaller and smaller, we start aging, and it's
I
usually
see.
caused by stress. But what they've found with the meditators is the people who practice the mindfulness, these telomeres get longer. And so not only does it improve the immune system, but it increases your
Interesting.
longevity. So instead of living to 72 or 78, you can live much longer with they've
Like
studied
100?
with the mindful, particularly women. Women seem to really, some of those videos that we have on the YouTube channel, if you
Mm-hmm.
practice those, they've shown that people can actually live longer. It just makes sense because you're relaxing, you're not stressing, your body is just kind of happy. So
Can we say that is this kind of a key to live longer?
yeah, yeah, there you go. There you go.
Can we
Exactly.
say that? Yeah, if it, I see, it's wonderful. Thank you very much, really, Patrick, to give these lots of ideas about mindfulness, to give us lots of, the suggestions and information about it. It's wonderful. And that's all my about mindfulness, the questions. Like I'm gonna move to another question if it's okay for you.
Sure. Mhm.
Okay, I just want to say different the questions. Like, can you tell us, an interesting moment that you still remember in your teaching or learning career?
Um, Interesting moment. I think what one of the big ones was I'll give you two because one actually do you know the term goosebumps? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so so
of
I
course.
it was we were actually it was a reading course, a reading and vocab writing. So it's kind of an integrated skills class. But I had the students pair up in groups, and they were asking each other questions and answering, and I was just sort of monitoring, and I was kind of going around the room. But the questions they were asking and the answers they were giving, I thought, okay, after about 8 minutes, we're going to move on because we need to kind of we need to go. But the energy in the classroom, to this day, I remember the energy was so high, and my feeling was so good, and I stepped back almost off not quite outside the classroom, but I stepped back because I got goosebumps, and I thought the energy here is so good. We're not moving on. I'm just going to let them go. And they actually went to the end of the hour. I mean, and when I said, when it was time to go, they're like, wait, already? And when I love hearing that, wait, already? Because, that they were so focused and in the flow. So, and that was, it was just a special moment that, there was the schedule of moving from A to B to C, but we never got to B because A was just too good. And so,
I see.
uh,
Yes, A is always good. Not you're afraid about it. I see. Thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick. All right, so let's move to another question. Thank you for sharing the moment with us. So let's suppose that we finished the interview and you step outside your home and find a lottery ticket that ends up winning $10 million. What would you do?
I give it to you.
Really? Wow. I'm so appreciative. Thank you very much. Now I'm rich. You mean that you don't need $10 million? You have $10 million. Wonderful. Of
Uh,
course, I can take it. Why not?
I would probably donate it for cancer research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I see.
so because there's still so many. Like in this country, in the States, you think we've got so much, but that there are people that can't make it to, for their screening or whatever because they just don't have the money for to take care of the cancer. And so,
I see.
yeah, yeah, that's probably
You
what I do.
do that. Thank you. Thank you very much for just generosity. Thank you. You are great. Okay, so it's a good point, by the way, and I hope they will find the solution for it as soon as possible for the people who need to be, the treatment or cured. Okay, so let's move to another question then, which is about a superpower. If you could have one superpower to use in the classroom, what would it be and how would it help?
Oh, good question. Probably, I would love to be able to literally get inside my students' minds and read their minds.
Ah, I
Yeah,
see.
that way,
Wow.
that way if they, because with some students, you ask, do you understand? And they're embarrassed and they're shy and like, yeah, 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 I understand, and they don't, and sometimes but sometimes you
Yeah,
don't. But
of
if you
course.
could read their minds, then you would say, does everybody understand? And then you'd know, oh, they do. Oh, okay. So then you could
Mm.
get in and help them.
You try to freeze that moment about
Yeah.
it. Really nice. Yeah, good point. Good superpower. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Okay, so the time flies, as you know that, and now I'm gonna ask you my last
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Ready for it?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. And what is your motto?
Oh, motto. Um, when we were on the show, what was it, 2 years ago? that we,
Yeah, 2 years
yeah.
ago. It was 2 years
And
ago.
there have been some that have come and gone, but I still like the whole thing that the idea that if things are done right, the world will be bright.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I
um,
remember it. It's a really
yeah,
great motto.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Can
hard.
we
It's
get
hard
it?
to do things
Mm-hmm.
right, but when they're done right, things flow. And so,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. So thank you very much, Patrick. And that's all my questions. But I just wanted to, remind that, the Patrick has got a very, the useful YouTube channel, and which is on name of you, I
Yeah,
think, Patrick T. Randolph.
yeah,
Randolph. If you go on YouTube and you can see them, lots of videos about educational videos, of course, and especially there are also three, if I'm not wrong, three mindfulness videos over there. And if
mm-hmm.
you go and if you watch them, you will really get the benefit of it. If I'm not wrong.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, there are
wonderful.
three that are relatively. There's one it's for teachers that it's like 30 minutes long, so it's a lot of activities, and then there are two like the 4-7-8 breathing technique one, and there's one called loving kindness. That's the one that they found increases your longevity, your lifespan,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've got three that we just made this year that are real short. They're 60 seconds, but they're just sort of little tidbits on
Uh-huh.
mindfulness. Yeah.
I see. I see. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right then. That's all my questions, Patrick. And before ending our live sessions, and would you like to add anything else?
Just that we hope that Turkey recovers from the
Ah,
earthquakes, and that
thank
everybody
you.
in some kind of way can get back to the way it was. And I know it's going to be difficult and hard, but hopefully,
Very difficult.
yeah. And so, I mean,
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
they talked about how mindfulness can help too. I mean, or your wish, if you had $1 million, I could send a bunch of people who could teach mindfulness in Turkey. That would help.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
We all need it.
Yeah.
All right, and thank you very much.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say that I would like to say thank you very much one more time, Patrick, to accept my invitation and being with us tonight and giving your, the wonderful ideas, suggestions about our questions, especially the mindfulness. Thank you very much. And Patrick Randolph, that was with us tonight, and we had a very fruitful sessions with him, just like the previous sessions, which was 21st. We had a great moment over there, and tonight we also had an excellent, great moment with him. And we are going to be here next week at the same time on the same day with a different educator from different, the part of the world. So until the next week, take care of yourselves and take care of yourself also too, Patrick. And please pray for us, for Turkey, for the earthquake victims, and for us because we need it. And I hope that we're not gonna face this situation again. And I hope no one will face this situation again, in which it's really hard. Okay, until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye bye, everybody,
Take
and
care now.
peace. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.